those games coming up after the international break, Tottenham, Bayern, and Chelsea. For me, it's particularly the two against in the Premier League. Tottenham, who have been better on the road. They're absolutely, we'll talk a bit about them in a sec, actually. But they've been actually crap at home. But on the road, their style's been a lot better, and they've had a good record on the road. And Chelsea, who you don't know what you're going to get from Chelsea. I mean, they're a decent attacking team, but they can be got at unless you're Spurs. I mean, let's talk about that. I don't know if you guys saw that yesterday. Yeah. Spurs, dreadful at home they've been, right? Dreadful at home. There's some Spurs fans saying to me, oh, injuries. I had to remind them about the injuries we've had as well, right? And such a lackluster performance from them. And I don't know if you saw at the end when, Van der Ven and Jed Spence just blanked Thomas Frank. Does this bode well for us? Or we got them coming up? You know what I mean? Don't look to be all going great at Tottenham right now. Actually, was it the Xavi Simons? I mean, Expressions was calling him Czar on my show. When we did the best of enemies on Friday. But listen, they're going to be tough games coming up after the international break. But I think if we can get through those, we're starting to look decent.
Yeah, I mean, I did watch that game yesterday. They were shocking. One shot on target. The only thing is, I think with the derby, I think form sort of goes out the window a little bit. It's a totally individual game sort of by itself. And we kind of owe them one. I know it was only pre-season, but obviously you boys went to that game. I flew back, but I really didn't like that pre-season game in Hong Kong. So I think we owe them one. But yeah, Xavi Simons is... they're throwing him in with Wirtz and that now, saying he's one of the worst signings of the season. And Chelsea always seem to do Tottenham at the lane. They're calling it 3-point lane. Yeah, 3-point lane. And I think Lampard started that saying, didn't he? But I was shocked by how dominant Chelsea were. I think they had like 15, 16 shots. And Tottenham never looked like scoring. And I know they've got a few injuries, but I mean, Mawani was a player that cost 70 million like 2 years ago, and he's just not offering anything. And I like seeing Van der Ven and Spence do that because you think, okay, I want a few fallouts with the manager just before we play him. So, but yeah, I suppose, as I say, form goes out the window on that day. So we do have to still be a little bit.
They've got United next week. Am I right?
Yeah, Man United next week, 12:30 kick-off.
Where's that at? Whose ground's that?
At Tottenham. Because we're away on week, so listen, I think, listen, don't kid yourself about Spurs. They're a completely different team away from home. You know what I mean? And it's the way they set up and play, you know what I mean? That when they're at home, they're being asked to perhaps attack a little bit more, and, they look a very, very good at counter-attacking team. That game in Hong Kong, as you say, about, as Robbie was going, it's only friendly, but at the end of the day, they was... We couldn't break them down, so they're going to be like that when they come to us. It's going to be a difficult game. But when you're at home, they're expected to open up a little bit, and they haven't got the powers to be like it. I can't believe it. I actually looked at that game and I thought that they'd get something from it, and Chelsea would be right down in a little bit of trouble. If Chelsea would have lost that yesterday, they could be like looking at getting a new manager. You know what I mean? It'd have been about 10th or whatever, but they just have something over Spurs where they just turn up. Do you remember last time they played? I think it was a couple of years ago when everybody got set up. I think Tottenham were on an unbelievable run of 10 games. They go there, win. You know what I mean? I don't know how they do it. I think they just continue to keep winning there. And I did see the highlights of that game yesterday. I thought I'd watch it. Simmons. I felt like if he weren't a Spurs player, I'd feel sorry for him. He comes on after a few minutes, gets substituted. Of course, you know what I mean. He's the big thing that everybody didn't want, and they got. So listen, and them argue they can say what they want. That ain't a good look. What them two players done yesterday. I don't care what anybody says. That ain't a good look. You know what I mean? That is not a good look. I don't know if you noticed it yesterday at Burnley. Marino was walking down the tunnel without. I think he just, was just wandering. And someone on the coaching staff reminded him, and he went, oh yeah, and he ran back over, you know, I do think team spirit and things like that are a big thing. So, yeah, like the more four lights they have, the better. Love it.
Yeah.
I think
It was a friendly, by the way.
Yeah.
funny to see.
Right, what difference has that made, right, so far to our start of the season? You know what I mean? So that just goes to show.
With Tottenham, it's funny because there's a lot of talk about the way we're playing this season and set pieces and are we playing the most attractive football, and rivals love talking about that. But with Tottenham, I think they've scored 2 goals at home since the start of September. And the way they're playing, especially I think the last game, they scored 2 goals from a corner, long throws, heavily reliant on set pieces. I think their lineup yesterday, I think they played 3 different. They've had Pape Mate Sarr, João Paulinho, and another defensive-minded midfielder in midfield. They're setting up quite rigid, even in a home game. And it's quite funny to see, like, after all the nonsense they were talking about us and how we set up, to just see them try and sort of replicate what we're doing without the results and without the success. So I don't know. It sort of shows that, like, it's not just as simple as taking a corner or taking a set piece or taking a throw-in as people are making it out to be for us. I think it is something that Arteta's drilled into them. I think it is something we need to credit the manager for more a bit. I do think that maybe the past couple of weeks we've been very like, oh, Rice is amazing, Zubimendi, Gyökeres, a lot of talk. But I think when something goes wrong, we're really quick to jump on Arteta and sort of let him know that we would have done it better and he's in the wrong.